All right, let's jump into today's deep dive. We're tackling Gold Seal certification in the construction world and why being good with money is so important to snag that certification.
Sounds good to me.
We're using a Gold Seal training series document.
Okay.
This one focuses on a key thing they call a competency. It's all about being accountable and managing project financials.
I can see why that would be important.
It's really about understanding how to put together financial reports, really solid ones that go to the people at the top, senior management. And I think, this is something that helps whether you're in construction or not.
Yeah, for sure.
If you're trying to, keep your own budget from going off the rails, this is helpful stuff.
Absolutely. It's about making those numbers tell a story, right?
Exactly. And thankfully, we've got an expert in project management to help us figure out this whole financial side of things.
Well, I'm happy to try and make it a little clearer.
Awesome. Let's start with, the basics. What is Gold Seal certification? What makes it so important in the construction industry, especially in Canada, right?
Yeah, in Canada, Gold Seal certification is a big deal. I mean, it's a nationally recognized certification. And it basically shows that you're all about excellence, you know? Best practices in the industry. It's not just something you get, though.
Right.
You have to really earn it. Years of experience, you have to keep learning, and you have to pass a pretty tough exam to get it.
So it's not just about knowing how to build, it's about managing those complex projects from beginning to end.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. And, the training module we're looking at today,
Mhm.
it's all about financial accountability and reporting. Because, well, a great building doesn't mean much if it's way over budget.
Or if it's late.
Exactly. And this module really emphasizes how important those reports are.
Financial reports.
The financial reports,
That-
making sure they are clear and insightful for the senior managers.
It's like checking the project's pulse, making sure it's financially healthy.
That's one way to look at it. And this is where those KPIs, those key performance indicators, come in. They're like the gauges, right? Yeah, on a dashboard, telling you, are you on track with your budget? Are you going over? Is this project actually making money?
Right, those big questions. But before we go too deep on the KPIs, I think it would be helpful to break down the steps to actually making these financial reports. It can't just be about putting some numbers in a spreadsheet.
No, there's more to it than that. The training lays out a process.
Okay.
It starts with really understanding who you're reporting to. Like, what are the priorities? What info do they need? Once you've got that down, then you can start gathering up the financial data.
Okay, so it's like detective work.
Kind of.
Find all the financial clues.
You got it. You're looking at expenses, revenue, any cost variances, which is basically, was this more expensive than we thought?
Right.
And what's the overall cash flow like for the project? Now, the good news is that a lot of this data stuff, it's kind of automated these days with project management systems and software, but you still have to understand it.
Analyze it.
Exactly. Analyze it.
And that's where the KPIs come in, right?
Well, yes. You're looking for the red flags, but also maybe some opportunities that are kind of hidden in all that data.
Okay, interesting.
Like cost to complete, that's a super important KPI in construction. Basically, it tells you, based on what we're spending and how far along we are, how much more money will we need to finish this project? And if that number is way off from what you thought it would be, big red flag.
Right, you need to figure out why.
Exactly. Maybe some course correction is needed.
So it's about looking back at what you've already spent, but also kind of predicting the future.
Exactly.
And adjusting to stay on target.
Yes, that's it. Yeah.
Okay. Now, I'm curious about another piece of this. Contracts.
Oh, yeah.
How do those factor into the financial reporting?
Well, construction is all about contracts. And a lot of times, those contracts are very specific about how you track and report the money stuff. Like a standard contract, like CCDC 2 2020, it'll tell you exactly how to categorize costs, how often you got to submit those reports, the level of detail, all of that.
So it's like a rule book.
Kinda? Yeah, you could say that.
That everyone agrees on.
Exactly.
And that makes sense. Like, what if there's a disagreement about money? You need to be able to point to that contract and say, look, we did everything by the book.
You got it. It keeps things transparent.
Speaking of transparency, let's talk about showing all this financial information to those senior managers. Any tips for making sure they actually understand what they're looking at? Because I'm guessing they're busy people.
Oh, yeah, they are. You got to make the data easy to understand and focus on what's really important.
Oh.
Visuals are your friend here. Charts, graphs, that kind of thing. Instead of just giving them these massive spreadsheets,
Right.
Show them the trends, any red flags, opportunities, make it easy to see.
But even with good visuals, is there a risk of making things too simple? Like, how do you make sure you're not leaving out important details?
It's a balance, right? You don't want to dumb it down, but you also don't want to drown them in numbers. The key is to provide context along with those visuals. Like, what do these numbers mean?
Right.
What should management be thinking about? What actions should they maybe take based on this information?
So be a storyteller, but with finances.
Yeah, like guide them through it, help them make good decisions.
And speaking of decisions,
Yeah.
what about real-world examples?
Oh, sure.
How are these reports used on actual construction sites?
Well, you have documents like CCDC 5A, 5B. They're all about the construction manager's roles. And a big part of that is, you guessed it, financial stuff.
Oh,
Oversight and reporting. Think of these documents as like the project's rule book. Who does what,
okay.
including that financial reporting. That way, everyone's on the same page. And you can avoid those misunderstandings that end up costing a lot of money.
Right.
So these reports, they're like a window. They let the senior managers see how healthy the project is financially so they can evaluate, make decisions, and maybe most importantly, spot problems before they become huge
It's
problems.
like being able to see into the future a bit, right?
You
See
got
those problems coming.
Exactly. And that all leads to better decisions. Everyone's more accountable. You handle risks better. And overall, things are just more efficient.
So everyone wins. Solid financial reporting, it's clearly a must in construction and really in anything that has projects and budgets. I mean, it helps you make good decisions, everyone's accountable, you manage risks better,
Couldn't have said it better myself.
and Gold Seal certification gets that. It knows how important these skills are for anyone who wants to lead projects successfully.
Absolutely.
Now, here's something to think about. We've been talking about reports for senior management, but what about your own money?
Interesting.
Could you use these same ideas to communicate better about money with clients or subcontractors, or even just to manage your own personal finances? Something to consider. Thanks for sharing your expertise with us.
Happy to do it. It's been fun.
Until next time, keep on diving deep.